Hey, everyone, and welcome to, hard to believe, week number 7 of Pickswise Playbook. We've got our resident gambling expert, Jared Smith, and joining us from Witness Protection, I have no idea where Ross Tucker is right now. Blink twice if you need us to save you, sir.
No, I'm in Charlotte. I'm calling Charlotte against FAU on CBS Sports Network tonight. Really looking forward to it. And then Saturday, Wake Forest, who's top 20 at Army, which will be fun. And then Sunday, I will do the pregame and just watch NFL all day.
The itinerary. I'm so glad we got that update. So we can move on with the show now.
Jared, would you like to give us your weekly schedule since everybody's what Ross is doing?
Just basically sitting in this chair, but leaning in the direction towards all of my screens and then moving back here to type in information to give it back to you guys next week. So that's pretty much my life these days.
All right,
I'm a man of the people.
Gig. If you're a first-time listener or viewer here at Pickswise, we appreciate you joining us. Second of all, where have you been? We've had a ton of fun the first 6 weeks. We're here to make you a smarter, better. We want to make your Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays more enjoyable. Most importantly, we want to win you some money. Now, I'm going to call this, guys, the bounce-back week. It was a little bit tough. I mean, if you're going to gamble every week, you're going to take it in the chin sometimes. And so, Jared, I want both your thoughts, but I want to start with Jared. What's the best way, if you've had kind of a crappy week, how do you approach the following week?
Don't fade my picks, right, Ross? 2-0 head-to-head this week. But no, that's okay. I went 2-3, so I'm not going to brag at all besides that. I think the hardest thing to do as a gambler is get inside your own mind sometimes because your initial reaction is you want to go back stronger than you were. But the best approach is just to take every day. I don't know if you guys watch Ted Lasso, be a goldfish. Every day, wake up, new handicap, new week, whatever mindset you want to have, growth mindset, and just continue to go through your process. Because 1 week out of the long term is not going to define your season. Just continue to stay consistent.
Yeah, I was going to say, Chris, I try to change nothing. Now, there might be certain teasers, because teasers were not good to me in weeks 4 and 5. I might dial it back a little bit, but I only had one teaser last week. That came through for me. And honestly, it's one of those weird weeks that I did okay. I mean, I was down a couple of units, but it's funny because when I was wrong, I was really wrong. I had the Texans getting the points. I had the Lions getting the points. I had the Chargers getting the points. So here's what I know. As a bettor, I feel so much better, B-E-T-T-E-R, not B-E-T-T-O-R. I feel so much better when I just get blown out. If it's a close game at the end that comes down to one play and I lose because of that, that'll bother me all night. But if I just get smoked, I'm like, all right, you win some, you lose some.
Good philosophy, guys. Thank you very much. Also, quick reminder, download the Pickswise app. It's available in Apple and Google Play for more betting insight, not just in NFL, but college football. NBA has started. NHL is underway. Baseball play. Whatever you want to do, we are here for you. But we are focused on the NFL. Week 7, we're going to cover all 3 primetime games. But let's kick it off with the Sunday night affair. Very interesting, in my opinion, because you get the Colts that are playing much better as of late. They won 2 of their last 3, and that one loss was that Monday night disaster where they had a monumental lead against Lamar and the Ravens. They're on the road at San Francisco, coming off a bye. Who's quarterbacking? Is Jimmy G okay with the bad calf? Is Trey Lance okay with the bad knee? And are we going to get the North Dakota State alumni quarterback matchup that we've all been dying to see? With all that being said, Ross, what do you have?
I don't really understand the line, and I don't really understand the line movement, to be honest with you. Usually I pride myself in getting the better of the line movement. I took the Colts getting 3.5 on Tuesday. You know, as we get further along in the week, the line is going up to 4.5. I'm not exactly sure why. The Indianapolis Colts have won 2 of their last 3 games by double digits. The only game they didn't, Chris, you referenced, they were up double digits on the road against the Ravens before Lamar Jackson put on his Superman cape. And by the way, there's about 5 plays, including 3 kicks I could point to, in which the Colts still would have won that game. And this line would be very different if they had. Carson Wentz, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions the last 3 games. Meanwhile, the Niners, they don't have George Kittle. He's on IR. They're coming off a bye. Garoppolo hasn't played in 3 weeks. He'll get the start. Doesn't look like Trey Lance is going to play. We'll see. But I don't really understand the line or the line movement. I love the Colts getting the points in this game. I think the Colts are a decent money line play. Love them getting anything over a field goal.
I love the Colts too. I think it's a great teaser spot because it's a relatively low total game as well. You get it from 3.5, 4, all the way up to 10. But I can clarify something about the line movement. So obviously, look ahead, Jared. That's my mantra on the show. It was 5.5 last week. So the Sharps did immediately, when the line reopened Sunday, get in on Indy. 5.5 down to 5. Then it went to 4.5, 4. Now you've seen a little bit of the 3.5, 4, 4.5 kind of middle ground. I would assume it probably closes right around 4. If it is Jimmy G, that's where the bookmakers we talked to this week have a little bit of concern with San Francisco. They do not trust this Niners quarterback situation, where the Sharps have had a love affair with Frank Reich and his team. It's been almost 2 years now. And I think you're going to continue to see market movement towards Indy because Frank Reich's a good coach and they've proven that they can go on the road and win tough games. And that's what it's going to be on Sunday night. So I think getting anything over 3 for the Colts is a really good bet. And we'll hit it later in the teaser segment. But this is a good spot for Indy this week. Moneyline certainly in play as well.
Yeah, this is the DeForest Buckner revenge game, by the way.
Yes.
Makes you curious. And Ross, I would be remiss if I didn't give you the opportunity. Go ahead, Carson Wentz. Go ahead, say it.
Why?
He's been great lately.
He has been.
Yeah. Why do you want me to say it? Am I the Carson Wentz guy?
You've been the Carson Wentz hater since day one.
I have too. Full disclosure. I have been. I thought on Monday night against the Ravens I couldn't buy in on it, and I was wrong. So he's proving a lot of people wrong right now. Maybe it is Frank Reich. Maybe that's the difference.
I am stunned he's only thrown 1 interception. He's playing much better. I thought I was the one in my little diatribe that mentioned he's got 2 touchdowns, no picks the last 3 games. I don't know why you came back to me. I was the one that already gave him some flowers, Chris. Chris Rose.
Sorry.
Roses, a bouquet.
Flowers for Wentz. Flowers for Wentz. All right, one of the more interesting games we've got, Bengals, Ravens. The winner will be the leader of the AFC North. Now, Cincinnati, I get it. They haven't played the toughest schedule. They've ripped through their schedule in the NFC North already. They lost at Chicago. They lost at home in overtime to Green Bay. But then they went up to Detroit. That was one of Ross's picks last week with the Lions. And he's like, no way that the Bengals should be favored on the road. No way. And they blew them out. It was a very impressive victory. Ross, this is a chance, I think, for the Bengals to say, we ain't waiting another year. Like, we have arrived.
I don't have a bet on this game, but the Bengals are legit. The Bengals are absolutely legit. Look, going to overtime with the Green Bay Packers, who are 5-1. Packers, the Bengals could have easily won that game if the kick that the kicker thought went in actually went in. Never saw that before. Congratulations, Evan McPherson. I'm 42 years old. I've never seen a kicker celebrating a kick that actually missed. That was amazing. I'll have that forever, Evan. Anyway, and then I really thought the Lions game would be a letdown spot. I thought classic Bengals. They're not ready yet. Dan Campbell will have the Lions ready to roll. I was so impressed with the Bengals defensively. Their young skill that was a mature win to go up to Detroit and crush them. I think they're up for the challenge against the Ravens. I think this is going to be an awesome game. I don't have a play on the spread. I would lean to the over, however. I know both defenses played well and better in week 6, but they haven't been that great this year. I think we're going to have a shootout. I think it's going to be an awesome game.
This was a classic case of, I don't want to call it buyer's remorse, but slight buyer's remorse, because I saw everything that I saw on Sunday with the Lions-Bengals game. I expected Detroit to play poorly. I expected Cincinnati to play well, but I feel like the Bengals played a lot better than in my wildest dreams. And I thought for sure you would see market reaction on Monday to that, and you did. It opened 6.5, and then it kind of moved immediately to 6. But then I think people started to buy in on the Ravens a little bit, because I think Baltimore is showing you that they're getting a little healthier. And then a nugget that actually an odds maker dropped to me this week that I was not aware of. Baltimore 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 divisional games. They play well in these spots against the AFC North. And it's not like the AFC North has been a cupcake division over the last few years, Chris. I know you know that well and good. So Baltimore seems to elevate their play in these games. Not to say Cincinnati can't cover. They have the horses to cover on the outside, the weapons, the arsenal to, take some aggression out on that Ravens secondary. But something about Baltimore kind of paused me, and I downgraded this from a full unit play to a half a unit because I'm just a little worried that Baltimore raises their game for this, and we're not taking that into account with this line. I think Cincinnati can cover. They can win this game, but I would not be shocked if the Ravens played as well as they did last week because they know how to up their game in these moments.
2 other buzzworthy host notes that I must get in because I'm contractually obligated. Lamar Jackson is 5-0 all-time as a starter against the Cincinnati Bengals. But he is facing a Bengals D that is the only one in the league that has held its opponents to 25 or fewer points in all 6 games this year. They're
a top 5 DVOA team. Their defense is legit, the Bengals.
I wanted to give you the DVOA shot. We've gone basically 10 minutes in a show without you mentioning DVOA.
It's true. I feel like that's people probably bet the under on that one. But I cashed the over side. I took all their under money.
Chiefs and the Titans. Titans a fun one on Monday night. They get a big home victory against a team that a lot of people had as the number 1 team in the power rankings, the Buffalo Bills. Now they got to turn around and face the 2-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, who got their blankety blank together in the second half against Washington. Kansas City, a road favorite, and it ain't by like a point or 2. Ross, they're a pretty big favorite on the road against a team that just smashed up Buffalo.
Yeah, another one I don't understand. I think that there is still a point tax spread. Point spread tax. Say it again. Say it twice. Say it slowly. Point spread tax on the Chiefs. I think the books still look at the Chiefs as being those Chiefs. I don't think they're those Chiefs anymore. I think they are these Chiefs, and these Chiefs are not as good as those Chiefs. So I don't really get it. I mean, they just beat Buffalo, who just smashed the Chiefs. We all just watched that game, right? It was a week and a half ago. The Bills destroyed the Chiefs. The Titans beat the Bills. And yet the Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites over the Titans. The Chiefs can't stop anybody from running the football. And now Derrick Henry, the greatest manster at the position we've ever seen, is coming. Give me the Titans. Give me the points. I know they lost Caleb Farley. Don't care. I think that the Titans have a great chance to win the game outright. You're going to give me 5.5? 2 units. Love it. Titans.
Wow. I'll say this. I agree with everything Ross said, but the one thing that scares me when we play the transitive property of football, the Titans beat the Bills, the Jets beat the Titans. And I know the rosters were different and they didn't have Jones and A.J. Brown and all that, fine, whatever, but it still happened. So that's what scares me with making those comparisons. But I will say this, the defense for Kansas City is still a bottom 5 unit, as is the Titans. This is a game that these teams have history. They played in the AFC Championship game. Earlier in that season, I remember they played a crazy game where I think the Titans blocked the kick or something. And so these teams have a weird history to them. I would definitely skew on taking the points. But I think I'd be shocked if this game doesn't close south of 58, 57 total-wise. We've seen it tick up from, I believe, 55, 56. And it looks like the ceiling is probably right in the high 50s. And I would say this would be the one spot. I don't bet a lot of totals. This would be a spot where I would say maybe if you're not as confident in the Titans, just bet the over and be entertained because it should be a really fun game.
So the one thing that would give me pause, if I'm a bettor that loves betting on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs because they run up and down the field, which they continue to do even though they're just a 500 team, the turnover issue. They have the most turnovers in the NFL. Jared, how do we do that when we're looking at placing a bet? Do we just say, okay, well, it's just dumb luck. They turned it over 3 more times last week. Mahomes made a play that he would never play. Dropped the ball, threw it up in the air like he was freaking like Favre in his aging years. So how do you come to a conclusion with that?
Have you ever played, I'm going to age myself, Minesweeper? Turnovers are like, you can't account for them. Because they're so random and fluky. The ball bounces on the ground and it bounces one way and it's a turnover. It stays in bounds, or it bounces out of bounds and the offense keeps the ball. It is impossible to handicap. You will go crazy trying to handicap that. Same thing with injuries. Very, very difficult to handicap when someone is going to get hurt. So you just have to remove it, and you just have to try to base your number on what the previous stats are. So if a quarterback like Mahomes, who hasn't turned it over a lot, has a little spike in turnovers, that I would dismiss.
Okay. He's got 9 turnovers, by the way, if you're scoring at home.
It's a lot.
Rough go for him.
So I missed the Minesweeper thing. So
like you hit, when you're putting the little flags up and it eventually hit a mine and the whole thing blows up. You don't know where the mines are coming from. Anytime you reveal you click on one of the cubes, it could be a mine, it could not be. You don't know.
No, I don't know. Chris and I were dating girls and drinking beer. I don't know. Sorry.
Ross I was only dating one girl and I wasn't drinking, and that was too long a relationship. And it just was,
this was all the times that I was working boring desk jobs and I was just trying to pass the time by playing Minesweeper.
Probably not the right place to be breaking all that stuff down. Let's move on to the Bears at the Buccaneers, who are kind of coming off that Thursday night mini bye after their win in Philly. Okay, Ross. Actually, I want to start with Jared on this one. The Champs are a double-digit home favorite against the Bears, who kept it really close against Green Bay. I get that was at home. It seems like Justin Fields is getting a little bit more comfortable. The Bears defense getting better. They apply a lot of pressure. So which way you leaning here?
No Robert Quinn this week, right? I saw the COVID news yesterday. That's big. I think if you look at Tampa Bay's offense, that's where the handicap starts and ends. And you would expect at some point the love affair with Tom Brady would stop, especially this year after the Super Bowl. The natural reaction is sell, but he's looked better. And everyone we talk to say he's looked better and he looks maybe like the best quarterback in the league. And if it wasn't for the crazy situation in Arizona and Dak Prescott's story, Tom Brady would be talked about right now in the MVP conversation, but there's just some other competition that's kind of, with the inside track right now. But Tampa Bay's offense looks amazing, but they're only 2-4 against the spread. That being said, there is a little bit of a revenge angle here that I really like a lot. The one time Brady was embarrassed last year was in Chicago on Thursday night. Yep. And Brady does not get embarrassed a whole lot, but I would bet that's a moment that he'd like to have back, forgetting how many downs there are is like priority one as a quarterback. So I think in general, this is a game where the Chicago defense has played better, but I don't know if they faced and when they did face the Packers offense, they showed some insecurities at some spots. And I think Green Bay's offense or Tampa Bay's offense playing better than Green Bay right now. So I'll trust the movement here. The look headline was 10. It's moved all the way to 12, probably going to close right around 13. And if you can find a 12, I would definitely play Tampa Bay. They are the most efficient offense in the league right now, and they can cover a front door spread. We talk about back doors all the time. This is a game where they're up 6 late, 7 late. They're going to go in for that finishing kill because that's the attitude Brady has. And in that revenge angle pushes me a little bit more towards the Bucs.
Going the other way. I just saw the Bucs. I called that game last Thursday. They had 4 drives of 9 plays or more, 70+ yards, but the Eagles still ultimately only lost the game by 6. I think the Bears are a better team than the Eagles right now. The Bears O-line is playing better. They're running it pretty well with Herbert, and they're giving Fields a little bit more time. It's a lot of points in the NFL, man. That's a lot of points, 12.5. Give me the Bears 12.5. I don't love it. I like it. I'm playing it 1 unit.
Since 2014, by the way, rookie quarterbacks 0-9 all-time against Your Highness, Tom Brady. Who was the last rookie quarterback to beat Tom Brady? 2013.
Oh, man. No, I give up. I don't know any
playing
rookies.
Today, not for the team that drafted him.
You always stump me on these.
Give me another hint.
Jack says Geno's. Jack got it. Our producer Jack got it. I don't know. Maybe the timing was
Jack's
off.
Probably the one that gave him the note in the first place.
That's not accurate. Don't you
Erroneous.
Dare.
Erroneous.
Don't you dare, Ross Tucker.
Erroneous.
Don't you dare. Somebody in our NFL Network department.
Must be real hard to be Jack, who's not actually on the air live, who can just Google it real quick and then put it in the chat.
Jack is an honest man. I've worked with Jack for 2 months now.
Impressed by our producer Jack behind the scenes on Google.
Honest Jack. Honest Abe.
Cut him some slack. Come on. Jack's living in a studio apartment. He's crunching numbers just to get our stuff on the air. And here you are.
He's working really hard.
Come on.
Jack, we can pause the show for a second and get
last rookie quarterback to beat Brady.
All right. Let's move on to Gino's old team, the New York Jets. They're back after a bye week. They're going to take on the Patriots. Remember, these two teams tangoed in week 2, 25-6. New England was your winner. Zach threw 4 picks that day. The good news is he didn't throw any last week. So he's making improvement. I mean, it was a bye. Y'all understand what I'm getting at. Jared, I'll talk to you about your once proud Jets franchise. Where do we sit in this game?
Everyone's on New England. Everyone's on the teaser spot with New England, which I'm going to follow that train. Maybe it's, a little masochism, but this Jets team, I just cannot see Zach Wilson rolling up into Foxborough for the first time and getting a win. If that happens, then the tide will be turning with a Jets team that I thought at times showed some life in London. Started slow. Maybe you give them a pass for that because it's London and, the circumstances. But I watched some great breakdowns of that game. Zach Wilson's just not doing the little things, holding the fake on the play action, turning his head in the right spot. I mean, it's those little things that you have to do to beat the Patriots on the road. And I don't think there's the polish from the Jets offense to do it yet. Meanwhile, on the other side, Mac Jones has looked pretty good. And I think he will continue to progress, where I think the other rookie quarterbacks, especially Wilson and maybe to an extent Lawrence, because of the teams that they play on, will be a little bit – there's a ceiling there with their development this year. But I think Jones has taken some steps. They could have won that game last week. Maybe they should have won that game last week against Dallas. And I would imagine that they get the win at home. Tough to lay 7, but it's a good teaser spot for New England, especially because the total's low.
Really like the teaser spot. I have a tough time picturing the New England Patriots losing this game. Maybe the Jets can keep it close, but I don't envision them being able to win this ultimately. So whether you see it for 6.5 and you tease it down to 0.5 point, or 7, tease it down to 1, it's a good 6-point teaser spot. I paired it with the Dolphins up to 8.5, but you can find another leg to pair it with, but it's one of the better teaser spots this week.
Yep. Agreed.
Patriots have won 11 straight in this series, and I just gave you an interesting stat that Jack Googled quickly to douse my flame on that one about rookie quarterbacks. Rookie quarterbacks are 0-12 all-time in Foxborough against Bill Belichick teams. And this next question dates back to even before Belichick getting there. Who was the last rookie quarterback at all to win in Foxborough? It has been 25 years. You want to give a guess?
Wow. What year was it? So 2006?
No. God, your math sucks. Where'd you go?
1996.
There you go.
No, I that's too far back. I was 10. I was 10. I don't remember.
Kerry Collins.
Kerry Collins is correct.
Wow. That was the year they went to the Super Bowl, right?
Kerry Collins isn't right. His rookie year was 95, wasn't it?
So it might be 95. I might have written it down wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, because I remember 94 was the big year. Thank you for the Penn State reference that they went.
94 was the Penn State undefeated season. So he was in the 95 draft. So it was 26 years ago. 95, Kerry Collins. Boom!
Wow. Ross gets the steal there. That's like a family feud.
You know who the first human being is ever to get Kerry Collins' autograph?
You?
Right here. Anthony's 5 Barbershop on Penn Avenue in West Reading. Kerry was 17. I was 11 or 12. He had just committed to Penn State, and he had like a mullet. And he's like, "You want my autograph?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're going to Penn State, right?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, sign this." So pretty awesome.
Do you still have it?
No, I sold it.
Did you keep the cigar that he was smoking?
Oh, what a moment that was.
No.
That's my fault. Bad.
Kerry Collins, what a guy. Right. Great years with the Giants too, actually.
Two teams, the last time we saw them playing, they were in London, not against one another. Falcons and the Dolphins. Dolphins coming off a miserable last-second loss at the hands of Jacksonville. Falcons, I know they had the bye last week. We haven't really paid attention to them much. They're 2-3, and Matt Ryan's played really well in his last 3 games, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, and now they are a road favorite, Ross Tucker?
Yeah, that's a little much for me. I think this is a close game either way. They are getting Calvin Ridley back. They are playing much better, Matt Ryan, the last 3 weeks. But I just can't imagine the Dolphins coming back and laying an egg after that loss to Jacksonville in London. I mentioned this earlier. It's a great teaser spot. The Dolphins are getting 2.5. Tease them up to 8.5. I think there's a decent chance they win. I really would be surprised if the Falcons win this game in Miami by 2 scores. If they do, we're going to have to start to have some serious conversations about change in Miami. I don't think it happens. Tease the Dolphins up to 8.5.
Yeah, the Dolphins defense has been a unit that I expected to look better this year, and they have not. They've been basically a bottom 5 unit throughout the year. The two things about this game that kept me off of it, it was a huge move against Miami. -2.5, the Dolphins look ahead now to +2.5. That's a 5-point move. And that's the kind of move that even though it's not through a key number, if it gets to 3, my guess is the Dolphins money will be very strong at 3. So I'm assuming it probably closes in that window 2 to 2.5, if I had to guess. The other side of it is, Ross is 100% spot on. You cannot lay on the road with Atlanta. And if you are looking to play Atlanta, you miss the boat because they're a favorite now. And there needs to be some hard and fast rules when you're going through an NFL season. And based on what we've seen with the Falcons, not laying with Atlanta on the road has to be in the top 5 of that rule sheet. So it's moved too much to play the Falcons. Your choice is Dolphins or pass. Ross's spot with the teaser works great for me. If you're brave enough to take 2.5 with Miami, great. If you want the sharp side, if this does go to 3, that's where the Dolphins money I think would come in.
It doesn't scare you at all that the Dolphins have scored more than 20 points in a game only one time all year, Ross?
Yes. That does scare me a little bit, but that's why I have the 8.5 points, because the final score of this game is going to be like 23-20, one way or the other. I'll take the 8.5 points. I'm telling you, man. I said this on Twitter last week at Ross Tucker NFL. The more the Dolphins and the Panthers lose, and the worse Tua and Darnold look. Although, listen, Tua wasn't that bad. No. And Darnold's receivers essentially staged a boycott on catching the football last week for Carolina. I don't know what that was. But my point is this. David Tepper, the Panthers owner, Stephen Ross, the Dolphins owner, they want a really good quarterback more than anything. It was a good week for the Houston Texans. It was a good week for Deshaun Watson's eventual trade compensation.
One addition here. No bye week for the Dolphins after the London game.
Right.
That's fluky, right? That usually you get it's like professional courtesy. The NFL gives you the bye week after the London game. Jacksonville got it. Miami didn't. Does that factor in at all?
Miami didn't want it. They look at it like it's
That's
a West
fair.
Coast team.
That's
they
fair.
look like it. Flying from Miami to London is like flying from Miami to Seattle.
You're right.
Well, actually, I had heard they had it, but because they played so poorly, they took it away from them.
It's like relegation, just like London, like the EPL.
Here we go. The biggest revenge game ever for 2 quarterbacks. Jared Goff leading the winless Lions into LA to take on the 5-1 Matthew Stafford-led Rams. Of course, these two were traded for one another, plus a boatload of draft picks in the offseason. The storyline would be juicy enough as is. But then Dan Campbell, after the Lions got blown out by the Bengals last Sunday, was asked, is there any possibility you would move to David Blau at quarterback? He didn't come out and say, hey, stop right there. Jared Goff's our guy. We're good. We traded for him for a reason. He gave us one of these. He's got to be better. He has got to be better. He is not giving us enough. So we're not talking about whether or not the Lions are going to win. We've blown past that. But we're talking about, can they cover a 2-touchdown spread here? Jared?
Well, all the bookmakers we talked to this week all said the same thing about the revenge angle. One of them declined the comment completely, and the other one said it has no effect on anything to do in this game with the point spread. So while it kind of reminds me of the previous situations, maybe the Gruden stuff and the Urban Meyer stuff, on paper, in our minds, we might think it's going to have an impact on the game. In the actual guts of the point spread, how the sausage is made, it has zero impact. That being said, it's hard to say that those quarterbacks won't have some feels going into this game, especially Goff going back to his home stadium. But that being said, the gap in talent here is it's bigger than the Grand Canyon. It's unbelievable. The Lions, to me, I don't want to call them the worst team in the league because I think there's 3 or 4 teams that we could say that about, but they are in that tier, that bottom tier. All the numbers point there. Net yards per play, they're dead last. DVOA, bottom 5. And the Rams are in the top 3 of all of those categories, and their defense is playing a little bit better. So I think this is a game where the smart money moved this over that key number of 14 very quickly from 13.5 now to 15. I would take it at 15 because there's no key numbers there. I would take it all the way up to probably 16 or 17, maybe even 16.5. And I wouldn't be shocked if that's where it closes on Sunday because I cannot back the Lions against anybody right now, especially against a team as good as the Rams. I don't care how many points you give me.
I don't lay that many points in the NFL, and I would lean Detroit 14.5. That is a lot of points, man. And they've been competitive every game except for the game that I bet on them last week against the Bengals. So, ipso facto, since I'm not betting on them.
Cognitive bias, Ross.
Yeah, no idea what ipso facto means. Every once in a while, I just throw it in there when I need like a transition. I just say ipso facto. Means something. Anyway, I would take the Lions in the 14.5. I'm not, but they've been competitive. 14.5 is a lot.
It is.
So, yeah, that's about it.
I'll close with this. Double-digit spreads this year. The favorites are 5-2 against the number. So the spreads are long for a reason. Just like when a total is 60 or 58, like the Chiefs-Titans game is, it's high for a reason. That's a very contrarian play to take the Lions just because it's too many points. Because the numbers do say that double-digit favorites this year at least have had success. But anything can happen once they kick it off.
Can I get on the other side of that?
Yeah.
The Lions against the spread are 3-1 when they're more than a touchdown underdog.
It's a good number. That's a good nugget on the
3 and Ross. More like 3 and Ross.
You can always find a statistic to.
They were not a touchdown underdog last week.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They're only 3.5 points. Good point, Chris.
All right. Can I give you 2 other numbers from this game, and Ross can kick me while I'm down on these? Do you still care that Jared Goff has not won a game without Sean McVay as his coach?
Nope.
Okay. 0-13. And the other one, this is kind of a fun one. Just want to throw this out there for public consumption. The last quarterback taken number 1 overall to beat his old team in his first try, and that's going to happen this weekend because it'll either happen for Stafford or Goff, was Vinny Testaverde.
Oh, love Vinny.
Beat the Buccaneers when he was
Ravens.
the Browns quarterback.
No Jets. No Browns.
Jets. He had some great years.
No, Browns, right?
He was with the Browns. He was with the Browns then. The guys that have had the chance to do it and failed since then, Sam Bradford, Alex Smith, Peyton Manning, Carson Palmer, Michael Vick, and Drew Bledsoe, and they all lost.
Well, someone's going to win this week. That's good.
Yes, I mean, it doesn't.
Someone's going to spend a lot of time coming up with the stuff that Chris says on this show, man. I mean, I'm glad
there's a nerd in a bunker somewhere just frantically writing notes.
Jared does Minesweeper. Other people go ahead and figure out what all the number 1 pick quarterbacks against their former team. God bless people like that. Hey, the world needs ditch diggers too, man. The world needs ditch diggers too.
And Ross, of course, back in the day was, opening Iron City beer with his eyelets. So
Yingling.
Of course. Pennsylvania, born and bred.
That's what you get for your 13th birthday where I'm from. Kay Yingling.
Makes you a real man. Okay. Panthers and Giants. I have to be honest with you. If this game was being played in my backyard, I'm not so sure I would even open the door and go watch this weekend. But that's where the gambling aspect makes it fun because these are 2 teams that are going to be without their starting running backs. The quarterbacks were it was turnover central. You got one guy who's already been jettisoned out of New York and Sam Darnold. Daniel Jones might be the next guy shipped out of New York. The Giants don't have any wide receivers. The Panthers, number 1 ranked defense. We dropped them off a few miles back at the old exit there. I don't know how we play this one, Jared. Give people some direction.
Well, I think taking 3 at home, never a bad idea if it's a toss-up kind of game, which it does sound like this game is. The Panthers' numbers are still pretty good, DVOA and net yards per play, but they've definitely regressed. after that 3-0 start. They're 0-3 since, and they've looked all the rage of 0-3. Sunday was just, it was a dreadful performance. Offensive line looks really banged up. I think where I was a little bit hesitant to declare a major drop-off between McCaffrey and Chuba Hubbard, because the running back position in the NFL can be dime a dozen type of players. But I'm ready to say, after watching 3 weeks without McCaffrey, that there is a major, major drop-off there. And you could tell in the protection schemes how they use him out of the backfield. Chuba Hubbard is not able to carry that load in the auxiliary things that McCaffrey does. Running the football, Hubbard's fine. The little things with the running back position, there's a massive drop-off there, and you could tell Sam Darnold is not comfortable in this offense. Now, that could change in a moment's notice because you're facing the Giants, but the Giants just got blown out last week, and Joe Judge is preaching pride. You're getting a discount on New York, and I think if they're going to show pride, this is the week. I would take the Giants at home. Teaser spot, also good because it's a low total game. But I couldn't lay it on the road with Carolina. Just like I can't lay it on the road with Atlanta, I cannot lay it on the road with Carolina after what I saw last week.
I'm kind of with you on this one, Chris. This game does nothing for me. I have very little by way of insight here. It feels like the Giants are still beat up with Galladay and Barkley. We'll see what happens. That was a disgrace at home against the Rams. It feels like major changes are on the horizon in New York. This feels like a game where whichever team loses, we're going to start to have some serious conversations. If Carolina loses, there will be some talk about Darnold and who Carolina gets as quarterback this offseason. If the Giants lose, it's okay, Gettleman's fired. Is Joe Judge fired too?
Mm-hmm. I actually think it's a detriment that the Giants are playing at home this week. I really do.
Agreed.
If they go 3 and out, first 2 possessions, that place is going to get loud the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because you've been in games where, you've played for tough fan bases, in front of tough fan bases, and when it gets ugly quickly.
And we've talked about that at times as road teams. Hey, we get up on these guys, their fans are going to turn on them. It's going to be rough. That's been a conversation in games.
Great insight, because we've discussed it too. You guys gave me crap, I think, early on in the season about how I said the Jets' home field and the Giants' home field is not great. I think it was week 1. I was on Denver on the road at MetLife, and that's spot on. It is a sterile environment. If that team is not winning, and they're not winning, even if they win this game, they're still not winning overall in the grand scheme. There is a lot of clamoring here in this city. I've been, covering sports in this town for almost 10 years now. There's not a lot of respect and support for what the Giants are doing, what they've done over the last decade. It's since Tom Coughlin left. It's been really negative, and it's continuing to be negative.
I don't know if we could find this anywhere, but I'd love to know the odds on the chance who's going to last longer in New York, Daniel Jones or Joe Judge. Can we find that, Jared?
Daniel Jones,
but you'd have to go to like some derivative offshore book that'd be willing to talk to us, because they don't do those kind of trust me, I ask a lot of sports books hypotheticals. I just did it with the World Series odds last week. I was curious what a Red Sox, Giants, Red Sox, Dodgers, blah, blah, blah would be. The sports books are very hesitant to give out that information because they kind of show their hand, and they're just a little conservative. I would guess Joe Judge, because I think the coach always goes first, right? And then the player, maybe, I don't know. Ross probably could speak to it better, I think.
I don't think Judge has shown enough to get a third year. I think that they would bring in a new head coach who would give Daniel Jones one more shot in year 4, because under contract, and he's at least shown something.
Yeah.
So I think Judge goes. If they get a new GM, I think the new GM might want to have his own coach who's not Joe Judge, and might give that coach one bite at the apple with Jones before moving on and seeing if he's not the guy.
Yeah, it sounds logical.
Which, by the way, is probably the worst thing ever for Daniel Jones. Be honest with you, you got like 1 year and maybe not even that long to prove it to a guy who has no allegiance to you.
Listen,
that's the business, though, right? Sink or swim.
Opportunities are not perfect in the NFL. Cry me a river.
I hear you, Ross. I know that. Just bringing it up. Let's move on. Oh, great. Texans, Cardinals. Woohoo! Here we go. I think the Cardinals are the biggest favorite this season. in a game. Jared, is that it?
I'm 17. Yeah,
I think that's it. So
I think it could close at 20. I mean, it's 18.5 at some spots now. It's crazy.
Let's start with what we do know. Davis Mills is going to start at quarterback. Tyrod Taylor is back, but he's week to week, says David Culley. So they're going to keep looking at the long neck guy for at least the foreseeable future. We don't know about the availability of Cliff Kingsbury. He was not back at practice on Wednesday. Everything was seamless last week in Cleveland. Good for the assistant wide receivers coach and the run game coordinator who were helping call the plays into Kyler Murray. The entire coaching staff and that entire team stepped up, even though they've been dealing with all the COVID stuff. Now they come back. They have a huge win in Cleveland. They're going against a team that is at best. And then next Thursday, they've got Aaron Rodgers coming to their crib. So, Jared, is that one of these danger games where we know they're uber talented compared to Houston, but we're still talking about a line of 17 plus maybe?
Yes, 100%, but the public does not care. So I was surprised. I was shocked when I made my midweek rounds. I thought for sure it would either be Packers-Washington or Titans-Chiefs. This is the most bet game of the week at Win right now. And guess who everybody's on? Surprise, surprise. That scares me, first of all, because for the first time last week, it was Cleveland that was kind of the sharper side. And there's been some spots where teams have the Rams game where they faded Arizona. Now the public is pushing chips into the middle on this Cardinals team. That scares me a lot to back a team that's getting that much public love as such a big favorite. Secondly, I will say this positive for Arizona, and I'm sure Ross could speak to this. Max Garcia, the backup center filling in for Hudson, was fantastic. And that is a good sign for this Arizona running game. If that continues, I agree, the seamless transition with Kingsbury, you don't even factor that in if he's going to coach or not. Frankly, I don't think it matters. And the line will not be affected by it, clearly, based on what we saw last Sunday. Lines are already affected very little by coaching changes. And if they get Chandler Jones back from COVID, then that's even more struggles for this Texans offense, which looked absolutely dreadful last week against the Colts team. That's a good defensive team, but so are the Cardinals. So I'd be very worried about taking the points with Houston. The one thing that is preventing me from making this a full unit play on Arizona is that public love that they're starting to get. I got 17 a little early in the week. It's a half unit play. There's no way that I can bet Houston after what I saw last week. So it's either Arizona or pass for me.
Yeah, for me, it's Houston or pass. This is still an NFL team, still an NFL game. That is a ton of points, and it's an odd week. Week 1, the Texans beat the Jaguars. Week 3, they battled the Bengals until the very end. Week 5, they battled the Patriots until the very end. Even weeks, the Texans get absolutely destroyed. Odd weeks, they are competitive and look halfway decent. So if I had to play this game, I would take the Texans and the points. It's an odd week. It's week 7.
Okay. By the way, just
hashtag analysis.
Yeah, I do want to clean it up. Week 3, it was that Thursday night game against Sam Darnold. And
Panthers. Sorry. Thanks.
Wrong kind of cat. But yes, you were in the family. Cards, by the way, 4th in points per game. We talk about their offense. They're number 2 in points per game allowed in the NFL.
Their DVOA is really good.
Well, I was about to ask it. What's the DVOA?
Second. I mean, and the Texans are 29th against the run. I mean, I don't understand how Arizona's not getting – like, how is Houston stopping – if they couldn't stop Indy and Jonathan Taylor last week,
wait,
how are they stopping Kyler Murray?
Like, how many points are too much?
We're getting there.
For Ross, it's 17, but like –
I think it's less than that. It's like 12 for Ross. He was on the Chicago earlier, too.
Well, in talking about this matchup. Like if
when it gets to double-digit points, I'm usually going to take the points.
Like if it got up to 20, do you think a lot of the public would still hop on that Arizona train?
I want to say no, but this was, I think it was 14.5. It's moved 4 points. I mean, there is not the Arizona steam is just it's hot and heavy right now. Everyone's buying into this Arizona team, and we've loved them since the preseason. But there is going to be regression at some point. I promise. They are not going 17-0. It's not happening. They won't lose this week.
One other quick question:
they're not going 17-0.
They're trying to go 7-0 for the first time since 1974, but they're also at plus 350 right now to finish with the best record in the NFL. Ross, Would you nibble on that or no?
Yes, I would. I think they are a legit complete team. They've got guys at every level of the defense making plays. They run the ball well. They just got Zach Ertz. Yes, I would strongly consider that.
I didn't even think of the Ertz thing. I would assume he might play this week. Maybe. I haven't checked.
I think he will.
I have not. I actually that part slipped my mind. The one thing that concerns me on a best record is just because of the division that they play in. They will have to play the Rams again. They will have to play the Niners again twice, I think. And they will have to play the Seahawks, I think, twice. They have not played Seattle yet, I believe. So say what you want about those situations. I know Seattle a little lesser than what we thought maybe a few weeks ago because of Geno, but that's a tough division still. And the Bills don't have to worry about that, but they have 2 losses. The Ravens are in a tough division. I think Tampa Bay would be their biggest competitor for it right now at 5-1. So maybe they can get to 16-1, maybe.
We'll see. All right, let's move. Washington football team and the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers was right. Told us to relax after they got blown out week 1 against New Orleans. Since then, they've ripped off 5 in a row. More importantly, in our little world, they are 5-0 against the spread. They are a home favorite against the Washington football team, which is the team that's dead last in points allowed per game in the NFL. Jared, what do you have?
Bad week to be facing Aaron Rodgers if your defense is playing that poorly. The one thing that scares me about Washington, they couldn't score at home against the Chiefs. And I know the Packers defense without Alexander has, they've got some holes and they're not perfect, but I think they're playing better than the Chiefs defenses right now, and they're at Lambeau Field. So I'd be
Joe Barry. Shout out Joe Barry.
Joe Barry he must have watched the show. He's really upset with Ross's comments earlier in the year. The analytics are about average on both. There's no real edge there. This is just Aaron Rodgers against the bad defense, and I think the lines moved to a point where it's considerable. And I'd probably lay off 10, but 9.5 is still a play. And I think that's where the line was, because at 10 you saw some money come back on Washington. So if this does get to 10 by Sunday, it might come back down to 9.5. 9.5 to me is a play for the Packers. I just don't see Washington slowing down this Green Bay attack.
Latest I'm seeing, there's been a crazy amount of movement on this game. I'm seeing one place that has the Packers laying 8.
Wow.
I like that number for the Packers. Washington is terrible. I mean, Taylor Heineke is not playing well. Their defense, I'm shocked how bad they are, and I'm thoroughly impressed by the Packers. To win 5 straight without Bakhtiari, they didn't have Elton Jenkins for a lot of it. They're without their top 2 defensive players, and Darius Smith, as well as Jair Alexander. Impressed by Joe Barry, impressed by the Packers defense, impressed by them as a team. I would lay it or not play it with the Packers.
Yeah. Okay, so you like the part owner of the Chicago Bears to roll the Green Bay Packers to another big win.
Evidently, yeah.
Okay, Monday night game. You got the Saints coming off a bye at Seattle, which has its second straight primetime game. They lost in overtime. Geno coughed it up in the extra session. Steelers kick a game-winning field goal. Very rarely in the last few years have we seen the Seahawks be a dog at home, and certainly not by this much. Ross, what do you see here?
Yeah, I like the Seahawks and the points. I am surprised by the betting line here. We just saw them on the road in Geno's first start go to overtime with the Steelers. Now they're at home. Geno has some more time to get ready in that offense. It felt like they found something a little bit in the second half against the Steelers running the football, and you're going to give them 5.5 points, depending on where you're looking. That's another line that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Give me the Seahawks and the points.
I'll probably wait till Monday to bet this, because I think actually it might get to 5.5, 6. Because I just think New Orleans coming off the bye is going to get a lot of public love. And it's a primetime game. So again, I like to kind of let the dust settle a little bit from Sunday before I make my decision, because the line depending on what happens Sunday. If the favorites really cover and the books need, it depends, but there can be some manipulation a little bit with the line Sunday night to Monday. So I'm going to wait, but I agree with Ross's cap 100%. You cannot lay that many points on the road with Jameis Winston. Seattle's defense, I think, found a little bit something too. They were tough in that game against Pittsburgh. They stopped the run. Jamal Adams was in the box. They're going to do that to Jameis, but Jameis, I think, offers more of a deep threat than Big Ben does. So I'm curious. That would be where I would be a little concerned with the Seahawks defense. Big Ben did not push the ball down the field. He has not been able to do that at all over the last year or so. Jameis can. In fact, that's the only thing I think he really does well. So that would be the part that would concern me about the Seahawks defense. They were not stretched like they were. That game was played in a phone booth against Pittsburgh. This game, I think, is going to be a little more spread out. But I think it's moved to a point where you have to consider Seattle as a home dog.
And I'm not so sure I still trust Jameis. I get it. The 12 touchdowns, only 3 picks. Man, it feels like at any point it could go the wrong direction with him.
That's how I feel with Geno too, but it was going great on Sunday night. I mean, he had that thing rolling. I thought they were going to win that game.
Listen, they got to throw the ball downfield more than like 6 yards. Like, enough with that. He's a pro quarterback. He started more than 30 games. I know he's not great, but take the training wheels off, for God's sakes. This isn't 7th grade football. Let's go. And let's move on to our teaser section. All right, Ross, I don't know. You feel like you've been burned recently by the teasers. So what are we working with this week?
No, last week worked out for me with the Bucs and the Chiefs. I needed those 2 units. I'll do it again. There's only one that I really liked, and that's New England teased down from -6.5 to -0.5 point. All they have to do is win the game. Dolphins up to 8.5 against Atlanta. All they have to do is keep it close. That's what I like.
I agree on New England 100%. Miami, I would throw in there too. I'm on the Giants and New England. 9 on the Giants. We gave you the cap on them. I think Carolina laying that many on the road. I can't see them coming into MetLife and winning by 10. And then I cannot see Zach Wilson strolling into Foxborough in his first ever trip and getting a win. So I like that as one teaser. My second teaser, Broncos up to 9.5, low total game. Colts up to 9.5, low total game. Again, we haven't talked about this in previous weeks. That's my fault. I should have. When you're teasing games, it's best to tease the games that are in the 40s because the points are worth more. 6 divided by 44 is a lot more of a percentage than 6 divided by 56, like that Chiefs-Titans game. So you want to get the most for your money out of teasers. The lower total games, you get more value with those 6 points. So try to keep your teasers to under 50, a total of under 50 with the game total. I'll add one because Ross is right. I'm seeing movement towards Washington from 9.5 to 8.5 now, which makes the Packers a teaser play from 8.5 to 2.5. Beautiful. Love that. I'm going to add that to my card this week. I might pair it with either New England or maybe Denver, Indy. I think, but the Packers become a teaser play as well if that line's 8.5.
Okay, that's good. Thanks for clarifying that. It's good work on your part.
Thank you.
Doesn't matter. It took you 7 weeks to figure that out, but that's perfectly fine. Better late than never. Better mid-season than never, as we like to say around here at Pickswise. All right, so let's get to one of those low total games. It's tonight's game, which is kicking off Week 7 in Cleveland. You've got a couple of banged-up teams, particularly Cleveland. Baker Mayfield, since he became the starter 4 games into the 2018 season, had not missed a start. That goes by the wayside. So Case Keenum, who, of course, signed that huge free agent deal in Denver, and it didn't work out his 1 year out there. I think he went 6-10 as a starter, or they went 6-10 as a team. He will get the call. Teddy Bridgewater is banged up. He's got a foot injury. He was a turnover machine last week in their home loss against the Raiders. The Browns don't have either their top 2 running backs. Chubb and Hunt are both out. We don't know about OBJ. It sounds like he's a game-time decision. We don't know about Jarvis Landry. We don't know about their 2 starting tackles. And, oh, by the way, they're down to their 4th and 5th tackles because their number 3 tackle, Chris Hubbard, is hurt. And with all that, Cleveland is still a favorite, much like they were last week when they got blown out against Arizona. And, Jared, you're shaking your head.
It's a disaster for Cleveland right now. How do you feel? I'm worried about your mental health.
Don't worry
after
about it. Hey, I've been through way worse than all the 3 and 4.
That's true.
Way worse.
And I'll be honest, I would assume there is and I'm speaking on the Cleveland fans' behalf, a slight level of optimism that Case Keenum might be a spark. I mean, he's sparked other situations before. I'm not going to say he's the long-term answer, but short-term, veteran, won big games before. I would assume that there's less pessimism about Case Keenum than there is fear about Baker Mayfield's long-term status. Maybe Case gives him a little spark, but on the other side, good luck against this Denver defense. Getting a little bit healthier. Denver's offensive line looks to be fully healthy. And I know that they're without Judy and Hamler, but I think Patrick and Sutton have been a nice, complement of weapons that have filled the void very nicely. And I love Noah Fant. I know he's a little nicked up, but if he's on the field, good luck guarding him anywhere. So I think Denver with the Bridgewater angle, I've got the numbers here. I mean, they're silly. for this Broncos team with Bridgewater. 24, or not with the Broncos, but just all time with Bridgewater. 24-7 against the spread as a dog. 23-4 against the number on the road. And 19-2 as a road underdog. How can I not take points with a guy that's been that proficient covering the spread? And now it's moved to 3-2. Might close almost as a pick 'em now with the Keenum news. I'd lay off there, but if you can get 2 or 2.5, or if you're lucky to get 3, I absolutely would take it with Denver.
What is going on that I think it's very interesting that Cleveland, that the line has moved from -3.5 to -2 since the news that Keenum would start. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Baker wasn't playing very well and his shoulder's all messed up. I think you can make an argument that a healthy Case Keenum might be better than Baker Mayfield. I feel like this is like public money coming in at this point on the other side on the Broncos. I got the Broncos when they were getting 3.5, which is obviously a gigantic difference from 2. But I think the line movement here is a little overinflated.
I agree. And if you have 3.5 from earlier in the week and it gets to 1 or pick 'em, you should definitely take Cleveland, and you should hope for a middle. Because the Thursday night games have been so weird, and you rarely get 3 points of movement in that short of a time period through a key number, the most key number of 3. So I think if you have a Cleveland plus 3.5, or even a Denver plus 3.5, or a Denver plus 3, and it gets down to a pick 'em by game time tomorrow or game time tonight, I absolutely would consider coming on the other side.
Case Keenum has thrown 13 passes as a Cleveland Brown since he signed on prior to the 2020 season. Does that give you any pause, Ross?
No, not at all. I don't care. I think he's going to play well. I do. I think he's going to come out and play. Now, the thing I don't like about it is the lack of guys around him.
Yeah.
Well, that's
no Chubb.
Yes.
No Kareem Hunt. No Landry.
Beckham.
See what happens with Odell.
Yeah.
That's a problem. But I think Keenum's going to come out and play well.
Is he going to be okay? Is he going to make it through the game? Because apparently Von Miller has threatened to kill somebody this week.
Why do guys do that? Well, why would you put a bullseye on? I mean, why would you say something that makes me like I already would want to hit him hard if I was freed up in pass protection, but you make a comment like that, now I want to hurt him. Now I want to hurt him. Like I don't know why people say stupid stuff like that.
You want to hurt him, Ross? You still have
because they're kids. They're what? How old is Von Miller?
28, Chris. Not 25.
Von Miller's a young guy, right? Relatively.
No, he's like in his 30s.
Really?
He's been around since 2011.
You're right, then. That is a stupid thing for a guy that veteran to say. I agree. I thought he was younger than that.
No, that's a gold jacket. He's 32. That's
oh, wow. Jacket. That is a gold jacket. You're right.
By the way, I personally don't have a problem with it. I like it.
I think we want to cause bodily harm because we're so sensitive to that.
I love it as a broadcaster and someone's going to watch the game. Yeah. But if I was playing, I'd be like, okay, all right. Like, I already wanted to get him, but there's other things. Like, you can bring the tight end or wide receiver in short motion and crack it. Like, I just don't know why you would say something that puts a bullseye on your back so that the people that are trying to hit you go out of their way to hit you harder or more. Like, I never said anything. If I was playing against anybody even halfway, I was like, this guy looks awesome. This guy's great. Like, I would never say anything bad. Like, I don't want to say something that gets this guy mad at me that kills me on TV. No, thank you.
All right. Let's do something fun here with the Anytime TD prop. No pressure here, but we are actually giving away a free jersey if one of you guys hits your Anytime touchdown and then somebody retweets it on Twitter. It's very easy. Just hit the retweet button. You'll be entered to win a chance for a free jersey. So once again, no pressure, but there's a ton of pressure on you bozos. Let's go. And I mean that, that's a term of endearment from where I come from. Ross?
Yeah, I like the long shots a lot of times, so I do like John Kelly plus 600, but I'm going to go with Donovan Peoples-Jones because he's a touchdown maker, and I want the people to get the jersey. So Donovan Peoples-Jones from Case Keenum in the red zone, bang.
Wow, I agree. That was very funny. You played it like the game Clue. I mean, it was like you named the place with the weapon and who did it. This is great. Okay, go ahead, Jared.
I think Ross is right. For the people, they would want us to give a lower odds person because that would be more chances for them to win a jersey. From a betting perspective, you want to maximize your return. So I'll give you 2 picks, one more for betting, one more for the part of the winning the free jersey. Cortland Sutton's looked fantastic. I think he's the new go-to guy for this Denver team without Jerry Jeudy, without KJ Hamler. Fant would also be in that running, but I saw a questionable tag on him. I don't know if it's just rest this week or if there's something actually ailing him. The injury reports, as you know, earlier in the week can be very fickle. But I think Sutton's off the injury report. I think he's going to play, and I think he's been fantastic. The other one I'll give you, if Case Keenum's going to play well and if he's going to be running for his life from Von Miller, I think at 6-1, that's a decent spot for him to find the end zone. I'm assuming they just posted the numbers today, so I would be willing to bet that a lot of people will share that sentiment and bet that number down. I'd be shocked if it was 6-1 by Thursday night because he is a running quarterback, and that would be a fun long shot for me, Case Keenum. But the official one for the jersey would be Sutton.
Okay, good. That'll do it, man. Let's everybody get a good big stretch. Let's feel good about ourselves. Okay, this is the bounce back week, gentlemen. This is the bounce back week. I feel good that when we see each other at this time next week, we're all going to have big, hearty smiles because Ross will not only have hit all his teasers, but all his big-time wins. Jared will still be smiling because he might have extended his lead in the head-to-head category against Ross.
Probably.
And I don't know if I'll be smiling or not. You can check in with me Thursday night.
I'm going to make sure that you're seen on Thursday night. We need to make sure that your mental health is taken care of Thursday night.
Yeah, well, that's the deal. You know the rules. You cannot text a fan of a team for at least 24 hours after a loss. So
like return policy.
Y'all can just hit me up right after the game like, hey, good job. Can't wait to see you next week. If not, I don't want to hear from you guys until the weekend. You got me?
Thank you for setting those boundaries.
Makes sense. It makes sense. All right, so once again, quick reminder, you can check us out on the Pickswise YouTube channel. You just hit the little thumbs up. That always helps us out. Subscribe to the channel. When you're doing a subscription, it doesn't mean you're paying anything. It is free. So you just want to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Pickswise. And when you do that, if our guys hit the anytime touchdown, you retweet it, that particular tweet, which we send out, and you're going to get a chance to win a free jersey, which is awesome. And also, don't forget to download the Pickswise Playbook podcast. It's available on Spotify. Do all that good work because we want you to win. It's that simple. Ross, have a good call down there in Charlotte. I love the 5-star hotel you're staying at. Jared, we believe, as we see in the background, I am Chris Rose. Thanks so much once again for tuning into Pickswise Playbook. Now go win some dough.